Okay, in this video we're going to talk about factoring by grouping. So this usually happens when you've got an even number of terms. So in this case we've got 4 terms, and we want to factor this. So first what we can do is we can look and see, is there a common factor between 12, 21, 28, and 49? And there is not. So what we're going to do is we're going to group then. So we're going to group the first 2 terms, and we're going to group the second 2 terms, okay? And then we're going to look at our groups and we're going to factor them separately using greatest common factor. So what is the greatest common factor between 12p cubed and 21p squared? So I'm going to look at the 12 and the 21 first, and I'm going to say 3. The greatest number both of those can be divided by is 3. And then the p cubed and the p squared. Well, the greatest number of p's I can take out will be a p squared. So I'm going to take out a p squared, or 3p squared, from that first set of parentheses. And then let's figure out what we're going to be left with. So if we do that, we're going to divide these by 3p squared. So 12p cubed divided by 3p squared. Well, 12 divided by 3 is 4. P cubed divided by p squared is just a p. And then minus 21 divided by 3 is 7. P squared divided by p squared cancels out. Okay? All right, so there's our first set of parentheses. And we have 3p squared times 4p minus 7. Now I'm going to go to the second set of parentheses. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to figure out what is my greatest common factor. So between 28 and 49, that would be 7. And I can't take out any p's because 49 doesn't have any p terms with it. So I'm going to divide both these by 7. And 28 divided by 7 is 4. P's along for the ride. And then minus 49 divided by 7 is 7. So if you notice, inside these parentheses, I have the same thing inside each of these parentheses. And so now I look at this term and this term, and I say, okay, what does it have in common? What's my greatest common factor, essentially, between these 2 terms? What can I factor out? Well, that would be the 4p minus 7. I can factor out a 4p minus 7 from both of these. So if we do that, we'll have 4p minus 7. So if I divide each of these terms by 4p minus 7, so that cancels out, and that cancels out. And so what am I left with? Well, I'm just left with 3p squared plus 7. So times 3p squared plus 7. And then in order to figure out if we're done or not, we have to look and say, okay, well, is there anything else I can factor out of 4p minus 7? No, there's no greatest common factor there. And then can I take 3p squared plus 7 any further? And again, there's no greatest common factor, and it's not a difference of squares or anything. So we are done. And our answer is 4p minus 7 times 3p squared plus 7. And you can check that by multiplying it back out. So you can always check these to make sure that you did it correctly by multiplying these parentheses back out. So let's do that real quick. Say 4p minus 7 times 3p squared plus 7. So we're going to multiply the 4p through and then the negative 7 through. So 4p times 3p squared is 12p cubed. And 4p times 7, so plus 28p. And then negative 7 times 3p squared, negative 21p squared. And then negative 7 times 7, minus 49. And I'm going to write this in standard form, so decreasing exponential order. So I have 12p cubed minus 21p squared plus 28p minus 49. And that is indeed what I started with up here, so we did factor it correctly.